Hi, my name is Anna Vanston and I'm auditioning for Dear Evan Hansen. So, you know that thing where you're blowing fire at a club and then you catch on fire and have to go to the ER? You know, that totally relatable thing? And I don't know if you can see this, but I got some makeup on this. It's not pus, although I've been there too. This literally happened Saturday night. I was working, and basically we have this little tradition at the club, which I'm not gonna name because I don't think they would like it if it was public knowledge that we blew fire there. But it's kind of a tradition that whenever Fireball comes on at the club, all of the bartenders and any servers who can and are able to will get up on the bar and we blow fire. We take napkins and we wind them up, and then we dip them into 151, take a nearby candle, dip in the candle to light on fire, take a sip of the 151, and then you blow the fire. All around, I know it doesn't sound like it, and I know, this might say contrary, but it's actually relatively safe. We learned how to do it by the garden bar, which has a fountain right next to it, so, the fire's always, it's here, it's sort of, you blow it away from you, and then you discard the napkin. So I had done this a few times, I was comfortable with it, and so for only the second time, I decided to get up on the main bar inside with the rest of the bartenders and try it. And it's like, obviously a big whoop once we start blowing fire. Like, the whole crowd turns, they all whip out their camera phones, and we put on a little show. It's great fun. This particular time though, two things happened that made things go horribly wrong. One, I was always nervous to do it in the main bar because you have to get rid of your napkin. As I said, we train outside, so we have a fountain that we can discard it into. The bar, it's a little more complicated. We're on top of the bar and you throw it down, usually into a sink or like a bucket of ice that's around. But I've always been concerned, like, what happens if you miss and it lands among all of the bottles of alcohol that are behind the bar? Now, the second thing that went wrong is actually the much worse one, and this probably could have all been avoided had I not been foolish. I was in a rush because we try to get in places to blow the fire right on the fireball, like right on cue with the song. So I was in a rush and I didn't tie my hair back as you're supposed to, and I kept this little guy right here around my wrist. So I blow the fire, I toss the napkin, and I miss the ice bucket, and it goes directly into a space with bottles of alcohol. I was freaking out. That was exactly what I was scared of. And so I was trying to get the other bartenders' attention to like help me out with it, but they were in their own world. They didn't see me. And so I was freaking out. I was completely distracted by that. Did not realize that my hair tie, this dude, had caught on fire. And when I did notice, because I felt heat, I panicked and immediately, of course, tried to blow it out. Unfortunately, I still had 151 in my mouth, so I ended up just blowing another fireball, which then caught my hair on fire. And I'm not talking, usually when you say that you caught your hair on fire, people think it's just like the ends, like right here, and I just quickly bat it out. No, the hair around my face caught fire. And I'm not graceful with what happens next. I just start beating my wrist, like beating my head, trying to do anything to get it out. And honestly, it gets a little dark here because I blank on what happens next. I don't know how it's extinguished because all I can remember is thinking like, this could literally be it for me. Like, I didn't think anyone noticed, and so I was like, I could literally burn to death, I could just completely catch a blaze and die, or my face could get permanently scarred and I could never act again. But the next thing I know, the fire is out, my hair has been extinguished, although it was completely burnt all around, and my hair tie was extinguished. This whole thing maybe lasted like 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. I was so mortified because I realized that I just caught on fire and was just fucking hitting myself in front of a whole audience of people with their camera phones out. 100% sure that most people got it on video. And I think just in shock, I was trying to play it off. So like the next course came up and the bartenders got ready to do their second round because again, a lot of them hadn't seen what happened to me. So they're getting ready to do their second round and I was just like, I'm gonna leave it to them. I'm gonna go. And like I'm getting off the bar, like telling people like, oh fine, I'm great. I literally stopped by my tables that I was serving and I'm like, hey, gave you quite a show tonight, huh? Like, oh, sorry about that. Went out in a blaze, didn't I? Like I was just joking around. And then I got back and my hand started, it sort of felt like it was still on fire. It was kind of burning. And so I didn't realize that apparently when you get a burn, you're not supposed to plunge it directly into ice or ice water. And that's exactly what I did, because what's the first thing you do when a body part is burning? You want to put ice on it. but apparently that makes it blister faster. So whoops, whatever. I plunged my hand in his eyes. And then someone told me I wasn't supposed to do it, so I took my hand out and they got me burn cream from the first aid kit, so I put that on. And then one of the bartenders came back to check on me and he was like, hey, there's a guy who was watching who apparently works at the ER. He wants to make sure you're okay and like see if he can talk to you. And at this point I was mostly worried about scarring, and so I was like, yeah, actually I like to talk to him. And he was basically like, well, let me see, it's too early to tell, but if it starts blistering you're gonna have to go to the ER because that's gonna indicate that you have second-degree burns. And it did start blistering, so I, asked to be let off work and they of course let me. And I went straight to the ER. I drove myself with my little injured hand. It was great. Made it there and I checked in, and I had a pretty fun time at the ER. I was still like in my entertainer mode coming off of work, and so I just had fun like making the nurses laugh, and like more and more kept joining coming over and joining the conversation, and they were super amused. And a few of them wanted to come to the club afterwards, so who's the real winner here? But yeah, they took really good care of me, and every doctor and nurse that I talked to said that they believed that it probably wouldn't scar as long as I put on the ointment as I was directed. So now I got this guy, and I basically have to put this antibiotic ointment on twice a day and bandage it up, and yeah. So basically all up my hand I have first-degree burns, and then you can literally see exactly where my hair tie was because I have second-degree burns all around there. So when I first got to the ER and for the first day after that, there were just these giant, pus-filled blisters that just wrapped around my wrist and like came up here. There were a couple up here. It was gross. And now, okay, I'm gonna show a picture in, the next 5 seconds. So I'm gonna give you a quick warning if you don't wanna see this. They're not the blisters themselves, it's just sort of the aftermath. But if you're squeamish, look away now and I'll tell you when you can come back. So I'm gonna show a picture of what it looks like as of filming this. I think it looks kind of cool because it looks like another hand was sewn onto my wrist. But can you guess where my hair tie was on my wrist? Okay, people who are squeamish, you can come back to the channel. It's okay. Yeah, but all where that dark part was, those were these huge blisters. My daily routine that I have to do twice a day actually is I have to wash the area with soap and water. I have to put the antibacterial ointment on it. I have to put these like squares of non-stick bandages or whatever, and then I have to wrap it in gauze. But this takes me so long. A literal 45 minutes to redress this thing because I am so squeamish and I don't want to touch the blisters or the blister aftermath. It's all just wah. And so it takes me so long because I'm literally like, okay, oh. No, I can't. Okay, just gotta take a second, But I gotta do it. I don't have a choice. I gotta touch the gross wounds. My hair was straight up burnt. I took a shower that night and like this was the hair that just fell off because it was burnt off. But my eyebrows were also singed, my eyelashes were singed, so they're actually a lot shorter. But honestly, it's just tiring. Like that's the worst part. Like it takes so much effort. I'm so slow at everything. I'm right-handed, and so I have to like learn how to do things left-handed, and I'm like, I can grip and stuff with this hand, but I'm just being very cautious with it. And when I like wrap it up and stuff, I only have one hand to do that with, so it's just tiring. And I have to do this for 10 days and I'm only on day 2, so that's just the most annoying part. Obviously I'm embarrassed because I know that's got to be floating around Instagram or something. Like everyone had their cell phones out. I'm embarrassed it happened, and honestly, the pain was like something, sure, but embarrassment on top of pain is a whole new level of pain. If you're wondering whether or not I'll go back to blowing fire, I'm definitely gonna stay away from it for a while, but honestly, one day in the future, the occasion might call for it, and I might be comfortable enough with it to do it again. And if you think I'm crazy for saying that or doing that, like, I get it, but this is sort of what I equate it to. If I go into the ocean and I'm bitten by a shark, I can't promise you I'm never gonna go into the ocean again, but I do promise you that I'm never gonna go into the ocean again wearing a suit made out of bloody fish, you know? Like, sure, there's an element of danger to fire blowing, but the only real reason this happened is because I didn't take the proper safety precautions. And honestly, on a serious note, this could have been a lot worse, and I'm quite lucky that I got away with just 2nd degree and 1st degree burns to my wrist. That could have gone much farther south. So the moral of the story is, if you're blowing fire, don't have your hair tie around your wrist. Have it tying your hair up. Let my stupidity teach you. And please cross your fingers for me that it doesn't scar. So there's your little adventure in Anna's world for this week. Join me for the next one sometime in the future. I don't know, subscribe to find out. Until then, me and my wimpy little hand are gonna sign off and go change some bandages. See you next time.